Transition. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're live once again, but it's just me and Ian for tonight. Ian, what are we
Yeah,
talking about?
good question. Hey, Jarrod. Good to see you. Good to see
Hey.
everyone out there. We'll talk about who's on for tonight in a moment, but it's just good to see everyone. Hello, everyone out
Oh,
there.
so hi in the chat.
So good to see you. Yes, on the chat as well. Let us know you're here. Good to see you. So we're just here getting back in touch with the social pillar, an ongoing conversation about that value of role-playing games, their crafts, communities, and cultures in our world. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that we're coming to you from Aboriginal land. I'm coming to you from Darug land, and we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're streaming from, the lands, multiple from each of us here, and to pay our respects to elders past and present, and extend those respects to any First Nations people who are watching. And so tonight we are two forever games masters welcoming you to the conversation. We are missing Thea tonight. She is off flying off to Queensland, I believe, at this very moment on some secret business. I'm not sure what. But before we begin, my name is Ian Zammit. I'm role play experience facilitator and director, running role playing games to help connect people and engage the power of story in everyday lives. And with me tonight is Jarrod. Welcome.
Hey.
How you
Good to be
doing?
here. As always, I am wonderful. I'm excited for tonight. We're going to be talking about some spicy things it's not always talked about. But alas, I am Jarrod, also known as the GM Chef. And yes, my passion to role playing games has blossomed into this show, and we get to just talk about all of the things that aren't necessarily discussed openly, and we want to share that conversation with everyone listening, tuning in live, or watching after. So, Ian,
Mm,
you've got a bit of a
yes.
project underway because this weekend, not to date the video,
Yes.
is a follow up, an exhibition game, a very high level game, and you're running it for us. What are we doing?
hmm Yeah, madnessly. I don't know how we'll do it. I've got an idea, but anyway, really looking forward to this. So, with a bit of a context for everyone who's out there, Jarrod and I, and Thea, and a bunch of our fellow veteran GMs, Games Masters from Collecticon convention, popular culture convention, which is held in Penrith and Campbelltown in Western Sydney throughout the year, about six of them through the year. We try to get together and have a games masters game. So we have a chance to just kind of unwind and play for most of us for a change and just go with the experience that we have. So we're going to be doing that this Saturday. And there's a bunch of information on our Social Pillar Facebook page if you want to know how to join it. It's also going to be on Twitch. You can watch us from 3 p.m. Australian Eastern Daytime. Is that it? AEDT. I'm trying to remember what that is.
Let's go with that.
In any event, we'll go with that. That's going to be this Saturday, and it's a
Yeah.
sequel, like you said, to last year. What do you
Oof.
remember of last year's game as well?
Well, it was loosely structured as a PvP one shot at level 20. So I just went in
Yeah.
really trying to do cool stuff with Istrid, my Aasimar paladin. So, of
Yes.
course, lots of cool things that I could have done there, some pretty powerful stuff, but I believe we were all conscious of each other's fun. And we didn't just go
Mhm.
crazy all out right out of the gate. There was a lot of strategy that did happen and a lot of good role play
Yeah.
moments. Each character got to shine and we got to do things that were unique to us. And that was what I remember is just having everyone bring a very, very wonderful character to a very cooperative battle royale.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
It was really good because we tried to make it. It was a battle royale, which we wanted to have that idea of just how we could play off against each other. But the
Mm.
whole context of it was that it was at the end of it. The whole point of it was for you to test each other out so that you could work together for a
Yeah.
possible sequel, which is what this is. So
Mm.
we'll get onto that a little bit later. But for tonight, yeah, we're talking about high level campaigns. This is in fact running a high level game. It will be a bit of a focus on Dungeons and Dragons, but we basically looking at the idea of what are high level campaigns. And once you've had players and GMs who've really delved into the world and gained some notoriety, gained some fame, gained some influence over the world, and also some power,
Mm-hmm.
possibly. you
Mm.
don't necessarily run the game the same way. It shifts. Everyone's more experienced, but there's higher levels of expectations as well, and higher levels of experience in what you can do and how you can engage with people. So we wanted to talk
Mm.
about that today. When your incredible abilities could be enough to challenge the
Mm.
gods, with so many hit points that could make combat a really slow grind. Plus, everyone's got resistances and features, which means the characters are being protected from being hurt. So, can it be fun? Can it still be the same
Oh,
kind of fun, or is it a new kind? What do you think? Yeah, initially, what do you think?
I mean, yes. Like we've touched on a core tenet of role playing games in general. Like this is going to be D&D focused. We're running D&D fifth edition, and that's where level 20 caps out for fifth edition. So that's our focus
Mm,
tonight. But I'd say with any role playing game, it's you're setting up those expectations as well. And over a campaign, the tone and
yeah.
pace and all of this will change. And like you were
Mm,
saying, everything becomes amplified. But also, I would say that yes, hit points are up. The risk
yeah.
maybe, everything needs to be a little bit uppity, but also the
Mm,
wideness of it all. Because like you were saying, as soon as you said, yes, everyone's got these resistances and this comes into effect, and then that aura and this thing, there's so many more things
yeah.
to track, which can just bog down combat even more. So you want to be running
That's
as
right.
tight,
Yeah.
efficient kind of a combat, and hopefully players have developed their characters from lower to higher level and learnt each stage of the way what their bread and butter is and how would they actually take. They're going to have an MO, a default engaging in combat, and that's just going to change as you gain a little bit. Unlike what we've
Mm,
done, which is crack into a level 20 character with just a huge scope of things to do. So yeah, you just have to be aware that that's where you're running, that's what you're running, and everyone needs to understand it
mm,
might not look like a level 5 one shot, level 5 campaign or game or anything like
yeah.
that. It's almost like it's a different role play game because you're
It,
approaching it. Your
yeah.
mentality, what your character can, wants, and should be doing, changes.
Mm,
It goes from saving a village to saving a world,
mm.
or you know, yeah,
Or whatever that
yeah.
story point is. And I think that's the point then, isn't it?
Mm,
It's like for me, story is always the forefront. And you brought this up when we were preparing for this tonight about how D&D is very much was originally based very much on a combat system, and everything evolved around that to eventually develop those other two pillars of exploration and social engagement.
mm,
And so because of that, for me, I really want to bring the story to the forefront. So that means when there is a combat, it isn't just a slow grind. There's real stakes, but we'll talk about
it's
that.
a
That's
feature.
exactly what we want to get into. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it holds more gravitas and value when it's
yeah,
used sparingly because it is going to be an
yeah,
impactful thing. Something's going to
yeah,
get smashed, like
yeah,
or set
yeah. That's
ablaze
right.
or sent to another dimension, or we're talking level 20, so we'll touch into that a little bit more, I think. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, on that note, guys, look, welcome chat, welcome Kit Kat. We can see you there. Good to see you,
hey,
and welcome
hey,
anyone else who's on there. Let us know you're here. In fact, we'd love to hear from you about what it's like running games at high levels or playing in them and your
mm,
experiences of it. It's a tough one
yeah,
because we talked about this earlier for Dungeons and Dragons. There are some games out there which are tailored to be at a high level, but there isn't much actually role playing. Uh, there isn't so much official material that guides
mm,
high level games in terms like have a think about this, consider this, how you go ahead. Literally, the first edition of D&D had those like higher level sort of like games, and that was very much considered about how do we approach this, how do you play in this kind of game, as they were evolving with the system as well. But we'd
mm.
love to hear from you if you've had some issues when it comes to playing that game or some questions about how to make it better or even things that you found work really well. We'd love to hear that and share it. So,
Yeah.
might kick off on the
Any tricks or
topic.
tips? Yeah. What's the highest level
Yeah.
you've actually got to as a player, or as have you run as a GM? Would love to actually know what the
Yeah.
what the spectrum is out there. How far do people get in a campaign, and how many people do commit to the late game grind? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah. Yeah. And to kick it off, actually, the reason we talked a bit about this because we've got this exhibition game, and part of that was it is an exhibition game of a 20th level game, not
Mm,
just a 20th level game that we're playing. But we were looking up some research, and there's a really great article for inspiration, and we'll send it to you guys in the link following, by Lucas Ola at The Gamer. And it was from a year ago, September 22, which talks about Dungeons and Dragons tips and tricks to running high level campaigns. And it was looked at a few different sources, but this one was really nice because it pulled a lot of things together to make it simple, effective, and some really great ideas. And I think we can start expanding off those from what it started there. So the first one, and it's basically actually, to put it in a nutshell, suggests that high level character games are rarely seen. It is a bit of a challenge to shift from where we've been and from the style of first level or mid level kind of gameplay, but it definitely is doable. So to kick off, it says, might get an image up actually for the inspiration for this Saturday's game. And the first point that he brings up, as we have that image there, which I'll talk about in a moment, but his first point was to go nuts with powerful spells, abilities, and creatures. So that it really, if you're at this high level, really give it a go. So how about for you, Jarrod? What does that mean to you when you get to this level to be able to go with it? And you mentioned before about your character being able to use all these amazing powers. What was that like for you last year?
Oh, it's an absolute blast to have so many abilities. You can kind of, I guess, dive into it a little bit safer in a way. So I would say
Mm,
absolutely embrace the amplification of it all. And generally, when I play characters like this, the good hero, the noble who will put themselves. Generally, when I play characters, I play very selfless. I like to
mm,
just get involved. I like to put myself on the front line and just get stuck
okay.
into it. And what I've built here, because I had so many options. When you are building level 20, you can multi-class 10 levels into two different classes and build some really insane stuff that you can have synergy. But I went pure
Yeah.
paladin, and I went for a frontline fighter who can heal themselves, who can buff themselves, who can deal as much damage when those strikes go through. My hit rate is going to be insane as well, hopefully. But then you have to have a risk there.
Mm,
So it's this back and forth
mm,
from the GM, from yourself, who is presenting an adequate challenge, because I've gone to the
yeah.
effort of engineering a character, and I would like to also be enough of a challenge
Mm,
for what you're putting out as well. So it's always this back and forth, this two-way flow of
yeah.
resistance or challenge, and how difficult something is. So players are always going to get enough of a level. The DM's going
Yeah.
to recognize that there's perhaps a power struggle. Oh, that went quickly. We didn't even get through one full round of combat. I'll tweak it so
Yeah.
then you can one
Yeah.
up. And then my players, especially anyone tuning in, will know that I put them in insanely dangerous situations, and it's more about how do they get out of it rather than how do they purely fight their way out. So most recently, just elementals thrown at them, putting them all in just the worst situation. By the end of the first
Mm,
session that we were running this combat, 3 out of 4 players unconscious. So they were
yeah.
absolutely under this insane stress, and they think this is crazy. Like, what have we done to piss off our game master? And then literally last week, or this week, threw a Tarask at them. They were level 6. They got to
Oh,
level 7 by
really?
the end.
What?
But
Okay, why
yeah,
would you
no, they
throw?
knew that. Well,
How
they were
much is
going
too
to a
much?
planet.
How much is too much? And how did you how
No,
did
no,
you
no.
bring the most powerful creature supposedly in the game into a sixth level game? How did you
You tell
kind
them
of
that
bring
they're
that
going
story
to
wise?
a planet that has a Tarask on it, and then you somehow convince them that it's totally worth their while. To be honest, I've done stuff like this before, and players like, no, no, we're just gonna no, and I'm like, okay, whatever, we'll figure something else out. But no,
Okay.
this was they nicknamed the planet Jurassic Park, and spelled during the campaign. I had to
Excellent.
fly
Oh,
down,
good.
and then it was this insane chase and battle. If I did throw the
Oh,
full
God.
wrath of a Tarask at them, Tarasks
Yeah.
can do 5 actions per turn. They have a plus 19 to hit. They don't deal insane damage, but that's all I'll
Report
say
just there.
about Tarasks.
And for anyone out there who isn't sure what a Tarask is, consider Godzilla. It's pretty much the
It
Godzilla of
is.
a D&D game.
It's a
So,
kaiju. It is this
yeah.
mythical, ancient thing that can slumber in the Earth's core and the planet's core for nigh on
Mm,
centuries. And the way I drop lore is, a civilization on a planet may blossom and bloom, become technological and die off. and they'll never see this Tarask that's existed on their planet, whereas an
Yeah,
ancient
that's cool.
civilization might have great mythos about it because it just happened to be
Yeah,
walking the surface at the time. So it is
yeah.
absolutely legendary. It's dubbed as a gargantuan Titan class creature.
Hmm.
And what better thing to really test your mettle if I would, as Istrid, the Asmar Paladin, I'm here to prove myself. And if that's what my character wants, surely being a great monster slayer would build me more renown. So again, it's, I
Mm.
want that. DM provides. DM gets a kick out of making the players. It's just this fantastic
Well,
situation, and it's so much better at high level, I think.
that's the thing. It's interesting because I've heard a few different commentaries on in researching this on that high level. Once you get past about level 14, 15, that the CR rating, the challenge rating, kind of goes out the window a bit. So it's
Mm.
like it's not about the level or power of the creatures. It's more about how are they getting engaged in the game. So starting with this one, the Tarask with 6th level characters, what did you? I mean, you knew because as a GM as well, they're 6th level. This is not actually a fair fight, so it can't be just a fight to go in with. How did you approach that with them? So, and how did they respond? And did they survive?
They, spoiler, they survived, because
Okay.
I'm not absolutely insane, but what it was putting them up against impossible odds. So
Mm,
the situation was they were going to this planet mostly desolate except for these pillars where lush jungle grows, and they were looking for someone there. They found that person, a rapid escape through the jungle, and as they're flying off this little cliff face, the sun is
mm,
blotted out, and the cliff
mm,
face that they were just stood on seconds ago gets clawed away by this gigantic hand. And so they have to roll a save against frightening immediately,
yeah,
because they turn around and there is this blinking, this eye that blinks sideways, reptilian
it's
like.
larger than all of them
And
put together.
so
Yeah,
they are freaking out, and I say, it's moving faster than it looks because it's that slow. When you see that, especially the new Godzillas, there's this slow,
yeah,
purposeful movement because you don't realize how fast that hand is actually moving. It's moving hundreds of meters per second. So
yeah,
I set all of that framework up in their minds first, because
mm,
that was the threat, was just the mental
yeah,
game. It was the exploration, I would say, in this case, because they'd gone to this place. They knew that a Tarask had lived on this planet, or possibly more. It's
mm,
been desolate, very, very little life except for these pockets. So they knew what they were getting into. And then when that actually comes about, when that tingle up the back of the neck happens,
mm,
it's like, okay, I've achieved what I need to as a GM. You guys figure this out, and we're going to make it cool. That was
mm,
my entire approach. So instead of being like, the ship got hit quite a few times. Their spell jamming ship can
yeah.
take 250 hit points. It's a living ship, so it has a treant embedded into it, so it can heal itself.
Oh,
So
cool.
again, it's kind of like, again, like as a tank, as playing that role. I had a buffer between them and
Hmm.
the actual creature. They rolled
Mm,
lots of history and investigation about the creature. What do I know? What do we do? Will this affect
mm,
it, etc.? And then I also, they've decked out their ship with crew and cannons. So I had some Varoks, these predatorial, sort of like if an Aarakocra mixed with the Skek from Dark Crystal. These bipedal,
yeah.
almost humanoid with wings, vicious creatures, these predators.
Mm,
They were the main interference. So that was all happening. But then the Spelljammer, the helms, who helms the ship, is trying to navigate and do things. The captain is barking commands at the crew to fire cannons. So it was a whole
mm,
spectacle. And much like
mm.
your exhibition game, I think that was what I was trying to achieve: is insane threat but spectacular results.
That's awesome. I think that was so
Yeah.
good. Like you said, the setup for it was so huge to make sure that you set them up for what to expect. And the scale was so much larger than what they may have expected or have seen before. I think that's a really great way to introduce it. Like you said about far away, it looks like it's moving slowly, but like it's actually moving hundreds of meters a second with an arm just moving. And having that
Yeah.
close up would be terrifying. And I think that's
Yeah.
if you're changing the level of scale and spectacle for the characters, whether it's physical in this case, or if it's psychological possibly as well. That could be interesting. So I might bring that into the game that we've got coming up. This is the image that we've got here. This is actually, I'm really delighted you get to play this in a group. I got this Dungeon magazine. So from 3rd edition D&D, 20 years ago this came out. It was the 100th issue that they released. And they did a massive kind of special. And it was about the Githyanki on their astral rock in the middle, floating in the middle of the astral sea. And you're going in there to try and take out the Lich Queen. She's this undead queen who's ruled over them for over 1,000 years, but it's also sucking the life out of them. And yet she has super propaganda so that everyone believes she's the best, and they go out and fight for her and incur on the lands and the worlds around them. So it's up to a group of people to sneak in and try to take her out. The place is nuts, powerful, which we're about to go into. I'm stoked to be able to do this. It was actually written by Chris Perkins, who's he was like one of the key people putting together 5th edition too. So it was way back when. Awesome artist Wayne Reynolds, who was around at the time. You can see. I love Githyanki. I love Githyanki and Githzerai. I know you're dealing with them as well. How's it been using them in your games? Have you had any kind of like encounters with them already, or are they coming in?
Yep. So straight back to Spelljammer.
Yep.
So there's a few spoilers for Spelljammer, the Light of Xeraxis, or Xerixis, I think I've named it in my campaign. But there are, the beautiful thing about Spelljammer is I think it's insane for new players who I've got Sim, who's been on the show. There's so many races that you encounter, new races as well. Literally where that session ended was them all getting onto this platform, and on the different landing spots, all of the moorings for their ships, they're seeing these crews of different races. The Hadzi, the Thrikreen, the Saran. They hadn't seen the Saran yet, and that was terrifying. They're like these insane, insane predatory lizard folk. They're kind of like, if you look at the 5th edition, the head is like this long snake. It looks exactly like a larval Gould from Stargate. Just a random thing. It looks identical, but there are Gith there. They've encountered Gith in many contexts. They have mostly been kind of mercenaries, because again, you're in their space. You're in the astral, you're in that. They're in that in the wild space and in the astral sea and all of that. So they've seen them as mostly like mercenaries, guards. Kind of not seen any of their civilizational culture per se, because I'd say it's definitely not a focus of this campaign, but that's how they've encountered it. Whereas in other campaigns, we've done like Gith one-shots where I ran for 6 players, 3 of them Githyanki, 3 of them Githzerai, and they have to go into the plane of pandemonium and do stuff. It was a good time.
They're so good. It's such an interesting those characters, because they've also got that division in their species. They've got a civil war going on between the Githyanki and the Githzerai, and they're the same people, but they are clearly divided on pretty much religious, philosophical grounds. And one of them, the Githyanki, are warlike, tyrannical, and under this Lich Queen basically stomping over anyone who comes near them, and have red dragons, a contract with Tiamat, the god of dragons, to have red dragons on their side, which is phenomenal. And on the other side, you've got the monastic Githzerai, who are all about Zen and finding balance and calm, living in the most chaotic place in existence, pandemonium, limbo. Sorry, I think is it limbo? I think they're in limbo. I can't remember. But in any event,
maybe.
Yeah, I think it is. But it's chaos incarnate, and they do that because it focuses their mind, so they have to be even more orderly, and it's just nuts. And they're all psychic. They're all got psionic powers. So this one, they're going up against Lich. He's got an artifact she wears, the crown, which you can see in the picture there as well. She wears this. That's part of what she does. Sucks the life out of things around her. You're going into the lion's den, literally. This is going to be interesting. But the story behind this was very clear, that it was actually about how she was destroying each of your worlds. That there was this, I knew we'd have to have something that was epic in scale for you to be able to be invested in this. And I know that we talked a bit about this, about how we engage the players as well, which we'll talk about in just a sec. but also running this at a high level. How do you keep track of everything? You said that
Oh my
before,
God.
because
Yep.
there's serious things. So if we jump to the next image, if you have a look,
Cool.
we've looked at this.
Next
It's on
slide,
roll
please.
20. Yeah,
Slide
that's
two.
we had to look at how can you keep track of stuff. We're going to be on roll 20. We're going to have tokens, and we're going to be moving around on a map at certain points. We want to be able to keep track of them. And at this point, I thought we've got to be able to see it visually, so it's easier, so we don't have to try and remember everything. And so we just had a look at this way of using the roll 20 tokens that they've got there, and there's a whole bunch of counters, basically little conditions and effects that you can put on each of your characters to keep track of if they're concentrating on a spell, if they're exhausted at any point, if they're flying, because we're in the astral, so you have the ability to think your way through space, which is going to be another level of complexity to consider.
Do I have a flying? I've just realized I better not have a flying speed as well. That's going to be so insane.
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that actually in the lead up to Saturday to the game, because that whole idea of like there is gravity, but if you really focus, you can try to move through using your mind and move through the astral that way. In this, because you guys are inexperienced with it, you don't know how to do it. Every time you do it, there's an intelligence check just to try and do it to sort of focus. So
I ain't going nowhere.
Which I think is going to be fun. Part of that's the kind of things I was thinking about. What are the challenges at this level that would be different, so that if it is actually on like using the gravity, that people who don't have the strongest intelligence ability score to be able to move them around, they'll have to use it physically. They'll have to use the movement that they have. Whereas you've got these very experienced beings who are from here flying around you, and you've got to deal with that. And that's so it's things like, how do you change it up a little bit to make it not just about powerful creatures that are unstoppable, but also with just how do you use the environment around you when it comes to combat and the creatures that are around. I might flip to another image here, because we were talking about the creatures. If we look at the player characters, it's not just about the power of the creatures that you got, but I know that considering player characters when it comes to involving what they can do in your game and making it worthwhile. For high level games that you've played, and I'm thinking Curse of Strahd, but other things as well. But what have you had to consider among your players' abilities that make it a challenge as well to make a counter maybe challenging, but also fun?
Yeah. So I think the highest I've run is 14. This was for some people who are very experienced, some people much newer, but all very intelligent people. So very creative, very unique characters, thought about their characters, what they can do, and they did build some quite strong things. I was also very generous with like items that they were wanting to then amplify those things. So monk that can climb on walls and all of these sorts of things. When you get to the level where a monk can just stun lock a creature, the dynamic has changed. The status quo is different. So you
Can you
either keep
explain
that creature
Stunlock?
away. Yeah, so effectively monks can do an ability where if they when they strike, if you fail a dexterity or a strength save, your creature your turn is mute. You actually
It's a
don't
con save.
do anything. Yeah, it might be a con save, but you roll against this ability. And of course, if the monks built this ability up and amplified it and done the right things, it's going to be quite hard to beat. So all they have to do is get a hit off on you, and they can do multiple hits per round, etc. You can see where this goes. So they'll spend key points to keep punching, and then they'll go, okay, I apply this ability now once I've hit. And with the creature you hit, if they fail, they cannot do anything until the end of your next turn. So basically, that monk, until the end of their following turn, the creature that they've stunned cannot do anything. So there is no opening for that creature to become unstunned until and then the monk can use their turn to
And
provide another stun.
That could be nuts if you've got a legendary creature in D&D that get actions outside of normal turns as well. If they're stunned, that could be devastating to that particular encounter. Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, you're utilizing legendary actions purely for, I would say, when you fail a saving throw, choose to succeed instead. You can add that stipulation anywhere, because the player's going to understand. Again, like I've spoken to this player, I was like, okay, well, if I give you this, this is what you might expect, etc.
Yeah.
So they're always using their abilities in the best way possible. You know, they're running up walls and then misty stepping into windows and shadows and all of this sort of wonderful stuff. So if I do throw a creature at them that is just going to not be stun locked, you know, like that player totally understands. And then
Yeah.
that's exactly the balance I was talking about before. They've skilled up to a point where I have to change how I approach. I I present to the player an idea of what that might look like moving forward, and then it's all good.
Yeah.
Then it's all agreed upon, and then when it comes in, it's not a shock when they go, oh, but you've totally taken away my agency, and now I
Yeah.
can't do that thing that I've worked so hard to get towards. That's what we're
Yeah.
always avoiding in these situations as well. So yeah, when I think that if we just go back a slide, if I may, sir, if we
Yeah.
just talk on those
Awesome.
conditions, that is
Yes.
utterly
Yes.
insane. Because if honestly, if we as all the players communicated, we could really kind of put together a table and a matrix of what abilities we have, what conditions we could affect. It'd be like kind of like a
Yeah.
Pokemon party. You're
Yeah.
kind of approaching it like that. You know? What are the
Yeah,
key
in some
abilities that
ways.
you can do
Yeah.
and combos and stuff? It's kind of like that. Whereas in Pokemon, you have high levels and you just do cooler shit harder, and you only have 4 attacks. But that's where we're going into. Is I'd say you start to get to the point where you're actually approaching it more gamified. And it is because you can do so many more things. Where are the cool things that we can do? They lie in the exploration of through play, I think. I'm not a huge fan of just grinding out theories and stats.
No.
My players at the end of this week, they were invited to a blood sport after the Trask battles, you know, typical D&D stuff. So now I actually messaged them. I said, I bet that the player chat, they have their own Facebook Messenger chat that I'm not involved in. I said, that's probably going to go crazy this week while they figure out what do we actually, because they don't know anything about this. They've rocked up to the arena and they've been invited and they're not quite sure what it means. So that's it. Is this, if they can be doing that, that's fun. But again, I don't get a window of opportunity to necessarily reflect cool shit that they might be, you know, if they just plan, I could be like, oh, well, look, this is how this works. You guys actually you've been provided all of these weapons. You can't use any others. And it's like, whoa, like, so I've said that to them. I've said, you don't know what form this is going to take. You've been told you get 1 minute to prepare. That's it. Yeah. So do they have an armory? Do you have to bring what you can carry? Are you allowed one tool? And the immediate meme was, you wouldn't part an old man of his walking
stuff. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's it. That's a really good point, because you said it again, setting expectations. Is that what you're saying? Kind of setting those 100%. Expectations up.
Set the expectations for sure, because set the expectation that expectations will change as you come along, and as the GM has to kind of balance power and what they
and all of the possibilities, basically. Absolutely. Look, that's actually a really good segue into this too. So it's like, thank you for that, because it reminded me too, if we jump onto the next slide, this is actually the characters that, of course, we're playing on the weekend for everyone out there. And welcome again, chat guys. I saw you, Kit Kat, as well. Hello. And see everyone else out there. Let us know your memories, thoughts, struggles with playing high level games. We'd love to hear from your chat and would love to respond to it. This is actually, we're looking at the exhibition game we're playing for CollectCon this Saturday, and we've got the 5 characters here. The first one with the glow about him, that's Istrid, that's your character, of course, Jarrod. The Paladin, Azamar Paladin, I believe. So that at that level, he's all about buffing the people around him in such a huge way, which is amazing. So I've had to take that into account. Exactly. So I'm going to go around these characters we've got. The next one is Gerardo. That's Steve's character, who is a wizard from Acquisitions Incorporated, for anyone who knows that. So he's actually a little bit mercenary. I'm going to come back to him in a sec because it's something specific that we're going to deal with. We've got Thea's character there, Syrah, who is a lizard folk and is an alchemist, an artificer as well, and has some amazing abilities at this level. Just under her, we've got the new member of the party, because everybody else had a chance to return from last year's game to dive into this. And this is Paul's character, who is Tobin, who is a Kender from Kryn, Dragonlance, for anyone who knows that out there, which is awesome to have. He's a Kender cleric of Gillian, the Lord of Knowledge, which is fascinating And of course, there's healing galore here, but there's also sourcing knowledge and information, which I've been really considering for this game. We've also got then Wilder, who is Sarah's character, Fae Satyr from the Feywild, and is pretty much like that monk you were talking about, Jarrod, very similar to that, with a few levels of cleric too. Yeah, she's like, I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready for this because some creatures I'm going to have are not going to fare very well against her. So that she's got that ready to go, and they're all invested to try and defeat this ancient Lich Queen and all of the humongous powers and defenders and traps and whatever it is that's in there. But something that came up is then about the levels of ability. And it was Steve when he asked me, look, we've got this exhibition game coming up. We're all playing together. We want it to be fun and we're all invested in telling a really good story. But we also don't want to make it too game breaking and get rid of, potent parts of the story that we could have if it's just a bad roll, but also with some of the abilities. And the ability he talked about, he said he has Wish at his possible beck and call, but is that too powerful for this? Should we just nerf it and just take it out of the game? And I know I can see that for some it would be a consideration because some people could lead to abusing that for a game, and being able to adjudicate that is a really important thing, so that you know that you're not going too far with the judgment you make, because literally that idea of I wish for this, does it happen? How far can you wish for? What level of power can you wish for this one wish to actually be able to generate? Something that really helps in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is they've got a good list of this is stuff that it can automatically do. And it's like, and there's no problem if you do it within these limits. Like if you create an object worth up to 25,000 gold or something like this, you can do it straight away, all good. Or cast any 8th level or lower spell like that, and in one action. I think it also says it does it in one action as opposed to a ritual for some spells, which is fantastic. So that's really cool to know. But then it says beyond that, what about it? And my belief was, because it depends on the group you're with and how you want to adjudicate it, I would say that's the number one thing, and who the players are and how well you know them. And for me, because I know you guys very well and we've played together and we all like to have the sort of fairness and fun aspect of all our games, underlies everything. I responded, I said, I actually want you to have it. This is also an exhibition game. And I think one of the things we should be able to do is to show off this kind of stuff, whether it's a wish for a wizard or a sorcerer in his case, or it's the cleric who has divine intervention, which automatically works. The god will intervene when he calls upon his god. So I had to consider that, but I said, bring it on. Whatever it is that you have, what I've tried to balance that with is, if it's the god for divine intervention, they're going to respond in the way that god would intervene. So if it's about knowledge, it would be something to do with, it would be about the giving or taking away of knowledge to therefore create balance, because it's also a neutral god. So we had a chat with Paul a bit about this as well, so that he could understand that kind of remit for it, and so that it would feel balanced. And when it came to the wish, I had a chat to Steve and we came up with something that, if it's within those boundaries, within the spell limits that it says there, all good. Yeah. If it goes beyond that, it has some detracting factors that can happen to him. I think part of it also, his strength goes down to 3 or something, so he can barely walk. But I said there's actually going to be degrees. If it goes like 50% beyond or up to twice as much as what it suggests there, it's going to be that and probably not much else. If it's like wishing for the annihilation of this creature right in front of you that's a god or something in one fell swoop, that's pretty big. Or, the destruction of a planet, or the creation of an entire new species, or something really powerful, then there will be consequences that will lean to that as well. It does say that one of the things can be that it just simply doesn't work. And I thought, I actually kind of want it to just work, but it's not going to work the way that it's expected. And I can't say too much. Yeah,
that's exactly what it should be. I feel like I haven't read the rules for Wish in a while, But I feel like it should
Yeah.
be kind of like the way sending works, and you have 25 words or whatever it is, and you have to word it.
Yes.
I would get it written down so that the GM can look at it word by word, think about it, mull it
Hmm.
over. What are the implications? What are the impacts? How
Yep.
broken could this possibly end up being? Not like in this action in the
Yeah.
moment, but if it's like, okay, well, I want to genetically modify this entire race so that they die out. That's horrific. I don't know why I thought that, but that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Is like, what if this is something that's like, okay, it's done. Like but it doesn't have a huge impact right now. But it's like, hang on, you're throwing out the balance of an entire like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And that's
give your
that
GM,
effect. And I,
give the player time to do a thing, and then
yeah,
also give the GM time to reflect as well.
that's the thing. I think it's really good that we've had a chance to talk, and that's why we also had something here. I think that we can show. If you want to bring the next slide up, we did a session 0 where we got a chance to talk just for this game, and it was just to talk about things like this, so that it's about we got to meet, we got to chat, we got to just celebrate the idea we can do this, but also to say, well, look, here's all of the powers and our characters that we've got, but how much is too much? What's going to be kind of like pushing it? And so from the talk, we came up with some parameters of like, okay, if it's a wish, I'm going to have a few things in the background ready to go just in case it could go this way or that way, and then be able to deal with that just in case. Use of the 25 words for a wish thing, like sending, we talked about that, and that was, I think, perfect. Sending has that
Mm,
limit in action. You've got a maximum of 25 words. Wish is one action as well, 6 seconds. I think that's a fair enough wish. It has to be within those, which
yeah,
means you have to really choose your words carefully. I think that's a good thing. And it's like also the limits of what the spell is, of what power it can actually do. So in this game on
mm,
Saturday, we talked about it, and Steve's going to have to write it down, type it in, and then he has to read it out as he's
yeah,
calling
cool,
it and saying, I wish for, and I'll take it from there. So I don't even,
beautiful.
this is the thing. Planning for it is one thing, and I think that's what I want to put out. And I want to get your opinion and guys in chat as well. Planning this stuff with each other is fun. I really want to have fun with this, and I really want to try it. I want to see where it can go, and I want to
Hmm.
have some ideas of the parameters so that at least we know what to expect. We're setting expectations up for each other. But at the same time, after doing all of that, and we get there, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm kind of terrified by that, but I'm also thrilled by that. And that's part
Hmm.
of this excitement of playing something at this level. So I think the setting the expectation and talking to each other is vital for that kind of to be able to make the mechanics work. And so that it also means it's not pulling away from the other's fun of the game. I think that's the key
No,
thing.
yeah, no, we're all very, very aware of that. We're very conscious of each other's fun, and we're all trying
Yeah.
to, we're all on board. We're all on the same, we're all on the same page in terms of we want to do cool shit. Is this okay?
Mm,
Game, continue.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's it.
literally just comes down to that, and we've that's it. I mean, again, like a DM might go through an entire campaign learning the intricacies of the players just as much as they learn how to play their characters as they go up. You get more exposure with different players as well, and over time that can be easier. So I'd say running a level 20 one shot when you've never run anything close is pretty impressive if you can. But
Yeah.
you are not going to be prepared for all the things that can be done. You have done an amazing
Nah.
job, Ian, of taking the
Have
time. I think we've done maybe three little meetings, like session 0.1.2.3
we done
kind of
three?
thing. I feel like we
I
have,
know
because I know that
two.
I was like,
Maybe we
I
have.
like came in the last 15 minutes of the first one, the last half an hour of the second one, and then maybe somewhere in the beginning of the other one, I
Yeah,
was there.
you did come in like towards the end, and you're like, yeah, I'm across
But
this. This is all good. Yeah.
no, I literally come in. No, because remember you couldn't. You had that microphone issue, so we've
Oh my God.
we've
Yeah,
really
that's
put
right.
in the effort.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've really actually put in a lot of effort to make sure that everyone is on the same page. It doesn't just come
Mm,
naturally. Even if you do work your way through a group up to this level, people, it's just
mm,
if a player's got in their mind, oh, I can't wait till I get access to Wish, and they never tell you that they've taken it, and you miss it because
yep.
you've got so much else going on and you're not really diving into everyone's character sheets at this level. It's
Yeah.
ugh. But and if they just like secretly did that and then
Yeah.
just dropped it on you, that's the
Yeah.
player not respecting you and everyone else. And that's also, you're not given an opportunity to respect their choice. The communication
Yeah, that
between the
goes
players' desires and what the GM
absolutely.
presents is huge.
It's two-way, yeah, absolutely. It's that idea of being able. I think that's like in the old school days. I know some games that have erupted into a DM versus players kind of thing, and that's not what I want at all. I want us all to have a
No.
really great time. And Thea
Yeah.
had a note here. Thank you, Thea, for sending this through as well about the question about how much we need to know about our players' abilities. And I think it's like having a basic idea of the abilities that the characters have. Not only is respectful, and it's also showing that you get what the kind of character they're trying to build and everything, and you know how to use it in the game, but it's also being able to adjudicate and work with it well. And I've learned sometimes from mistakes in the past of me seeing, look, these people have got this, and I've thought, oh, I've got to shut this down with this here because that's just going to destroy things. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. It's like, okay, this is what we have. How can you change the game and how can you evolve so that it can actually work with that? And it's not just about
Mm.
combat, which is actually a really good segue because we've talked a lot about the combat side of things. And I think it's very important to look at the raising the stakes in other ways, and because there are two other pillars to the game. So we're going to look at that. My favorite discussion is about the less obvious things when it comes to high level games, and how do you make it interesting at high level. And one of the options that was given in the article we talked about was raising the stakes for failure. And so this goes beyond just combat. And it's that whole idea
Mm-hmm.
of, if you've got this as a solution, maybe combat to take something out, like you guys have got the great glitch queen who's coming in here, and you're meant to actually destroy her and her phylactery. Okay, right.
Mm.
If it's that easy to do, or if it's that straightforward as well, as if that's there, what's the less obvious alternative to that? Is there another way around it? And in this case, it's kind of trying to not let her know that you're coming is a big thing. So there's a whole stealth
Mm.
or a heist aspect to this in a way. Or is there a social aspect to it? So we had one for this particular game that we had, and we've got that image there of Turnaround the Astral Plane. This game, I particularly wanted to make sure that that it was an option of one of the raising of the stakes was putting your loved ones in danger. The
Mm.
players' loved ones, whether it be personal, their family, whether they're the people they work with, or their community that they look out for, or even their world.
Yeah.
Raising those stakes that if you, for example, try to attack this person front on, and they've got someone who they've kidnapped of your family with them, and they say, you do this, you're going to take them out as well, is terrifying. And it's like, you
Mm.
have to find another way to do something about this. You've got to look for another path. What would you, have you had an experience of this before, or how do you feel about that idea of putting loved ones in danger as an option of raising the
Yep.
stakes in a game? Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing it right when the players just yell out your name because they're panicking. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I love to do that. I love to, put those moral quandaries,
Mm.
those choices, like big choices are a big part of my games. I'll just touch on Spelljammer again. This Light of
Yeah.
Xerxes adventure is huge. It is the
Yeah.
players go on an adventure to save Toril, so save a planet, and they go off into the wild spaces to do that.
Yeah.
And at the end is a huge moral decision because it's the astral elves who are spreading this threat throughout the galaxy, through the
Yeah.
bubbles of wild spaces and realm spaces,
Yeah.
and that's it. Is it's like they're doing it to keep their race alive, but are
Mm.
they doing the right thing? What are the players going to do? So that's as much as I'll say
Mm.
on the whole
Without
Spelljammers, but
spoilers.
it is
Yeah.
that, and it's just like, well, how the hell, and they're just out there, they're just in realm space, in the astral sea, in doom space right now, particularly hostile realm space, and
Yeah.
they were level 6, they leveled up by the end of the Trask encounter, as they deserved,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still just going, how are we actually going to do this? They still don't know, and they're a good maybe half to 2/3 through it,
And
and that's
Doomspace is full of
fantastic.
beholders. Is that right? Doomspace
Oh
has got
yeah,
beholders in
it's
it and stuff.
also there's so many
Yeah.
dead gods. There's all sorts of nasties that live there. There's lots of races because it's basically imagine a solar system. All of these things that I'm saying, the realm space, wild space, are basically like little solar systems, collections of planets and stuff. And the star of this planet, this realm space,
Mm,
is a black hole. So
yeah.
races have had to migrate to other planets to seek refuge, and some of their worlds have been destroyed. And it's quite horrible, and
Mm.
everything's quite warlike out there. So it's pretty
So
special,
you've got
pretty
this.
crazy.
That's really talking about a massive impact that the astral elves in this story as well have had
Yeah.
on everything else around them. And so it's like literally moving through this. There's other things happening at the same time that's making it dangerous for them just to be there,
Oh,
and
gotcha.
dangerous for others. So other people are facing the same kind of terror. Yeah, I think that's kind of setting
Well,
that
that's what
tension.
their
We've
main
got,
goal is to find a
yeah,
coalition, to find allies,
yeah,
because Toril and the Spelljammer Academy and everything was compromised. They had to head off effectively. Spelljammer Academy and the navy of flying ships was just not going
yeah.
to be enough. They weren't going to send them on force and en masse across realm space to try and fight a common enemy. Like it needs to be a coalition of many people affected by this, which is
That
beautiful. And there's
that's
social
so cool.
integration. It's
Yeah,
buttering
because
down
it's so
all
cool.
of that.
They have to engage with all these others who are also facing such tyranny and such awfulness, and they've got to try and get them on side and put aside any kind of like personal differences and things like that, which is very much a high level kind of game to play as
Mm.
well. It's funny you say that because this is very similar to our game too. That the one on Saturday is very much, for those of you out there unaware, it sets off that your character, Jared, is from the realms, but also from the heavens. So you've kind of got like a bit of a stake
Mm.
in the mortal world, but also the heavens. You've
Yes.
seen Turil start to get attacked by the Githyanki from your end.
Mm.
Syrah has from a distant world, but the Githyanki have started to incur in there, or they're trying to find their way into it. She's trying to protect it. And all of you have found very particular personal reasons to be able to say, look, we want this needs to stop now. And you're kind of ambassadors to try and stop it. But in the picture you've got, which is fantastic, this is the Githyanki heart of their civilization, floating in astral space. It's a dead god that's been floating
Yeah.
there, and it's basically crystalline now because it's been there
So
for eons, and it has some psychic resonance about it and some weird stuff that can happen. But they've built their entire civilization on it for thousands of years now, and you guys are going in there. And how it's working, it's not just that you're simply going in because these guys would have protection. So the start of the game is because they've got all these dragons, one of your allies, which is the good astral elves in our game, they're actually taking an orb of dragonkind and they're utilizing an artifact, which is dangerous. They're going to sail off and activate it, which does this massive call out to all dragons nearby, and they can't help themselves. There's no saving throw. They just start flying towards it. And that's going to
Mm.
happen in the middle of the city. They're going to be like 40 miles away or 30 miles away, and they're going to activate it. And all of a sudden, all the dragons are going to fly off. That's going to create a bit of havoc within the city already, the Empire. But then there's a second point to this, which is a rebellion is going to kick off. And there are already rebels who get what the awful Lich Queen is doing to her people from the Githyanki, and they're rallying those around them who are sympathizers but trying not to be caught, and their companions, the Githzerai, who are going to come in with them as well and support them in this to try and unify the two groups like together again, hopefully. So they're going to kick off a coup in the middle of the city at the same time once that happens. So chaos is erupting in the middle of the city while all this is going on. The third and final part of it is you guys. And so this small
Mm.
group can sneak in because of the information they had. The spies, it reminds me of Return of the Jedi about the information of the spies, how to destroy the Death Star, whatever it is. These people died for this information. You guys are going to sneak in through the dragon caves, which are now empty, to the secret gate that links to the Lich Queen's palace, and hopefully sneak in there and try and find her and her phylactery and destroy it while all this madness and chaos is going on. So behind all of that, the whole idea was just to raise the stakes, and you guys don't know how long you have, how long this rebellion's going to work for. Will the artifact work properly? How long it will keep there? So you know your time is limited. So that's going to, hopefully it'll keep you going, because you know that this, that's the side of the time issue of the stakes of how long you have to survive is one thing. But the balance to that is, like you said, for the game that you're doing, and I think this is a good one, your worlds are in danger. And what you represent to protecting those worlds, if you fail, what that will mean. And that's a big deal. If the more that we can set that expectation up is just the more value and investment all the players will have in the game, I think. So, we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, there's that.
No, that's it. Raise stakes, like more. Yeah, like it's so much more fun. I as an individual, like the old thrive under pressure when it's just the right amount. Oof, it's perfect, and that's it. Just the weight of this mission is going to mean that we're going to be thinking a little bit more critically. It's going to be a few more gulps before we decide to actually roll, kind of a thing. So absolutely, that's going to be on the forefront of everyone's minds as we're playing, because we know that we need to give it our all. This is do or die, but don't misstep. Don't take too much of a chance. We're constantly going to be weighing that up with everything we do. It's not just going to be run in and hope for the best. It is going to be slow and methodical, and then when the pace hits, it's going to be fantastic. So absolutely,
and you have to just
wait.
Run. You just have to run.
That's it.
Welcome.
Like, you have to be ready for that at any moment. But
and on to continue that in a second, welcome over to Canesta, who is out there. Canesta, good to see you. Thanks for rating. This is awesome. Hey, don't play like Amy. I'm not sure what that means, but I'm sure Amy's awesome as a player. If Amy's out there.
If that is you, Amy, how dare you? We want
welcome,
to play with you, please.
If that's Amy, that's our fearless leader of Collecticon as well. He's out there. If it is you, Amy. Amy runs the entire Collecticon itself and has made such a wonderful space for many different things for popular culture in there, but also our wonderful corner of Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games as well. So Amy, thank you for making this happen. Hope we can see you on Saturday for this madness as well. But this is actually a good point, because leading on to that stakes, we've talked about kind of a personal investment. So there's that kind of social side of it. And sometimes it can be about how you engage with others to get them on side. The other pillar that we can talk about is exploration. And that's actually something for this game as well. And if you like to bring up the image, the final slide, I think it is, I can't remember if it is. This is about, I thought for this game particularly, it is about time and to try and get somewhere, and we have very little time. It's a one shot, so I thought, well, look, let's just make it really simple and say, guys, you have to get from here to here. The rebels have given you this is where we know her phylactery is, where you can find it. You must get there as fast as you can, destroy it. However, this place is deadly. We don't know all of the traps in there. This is the best we could get from the people who came out of here. And she's undead. She doesn't need to have stuff that helps the living in here. So be careful. And so that's literally what you've got to go in there with. So making this that you've got a time limit and you want to get there fast. And at the same time, I love what you said, Jarrod. At the same time, you want to be kind of cautious as you go ahead and checking things. So you've got that balance between desperation and stakes, and at the same time, not running in to get yourself killed by a death trap that comes in. And I'm so glad we talked actually as well in our session 0 to say, I needed to say, I am wanting to have a great game with you guys, but I am going to, and I want us to have a fun storytelling, and each part of your stories come in, which is why you're going to introduce your characters and what your personal stakes are at the beginning of the game, so we know what ties you to it. And I want us to really build on those through the game. But saying that, the Lich Queen, I'm going to play without prejudice. I'll focus exactly on what she can do, and she has lived for over 1,000 years and destroyed many enemies. You could die. It's very possible, and I need you to be ready for that. And so I'm not going to do it unfairly. She will do it the way she can and within the rules. And so And I think everyone was like, yep, yep, we're up for this, I think,
Of course.
and looking terrified, but yep, we're up for
Of
this. We'll
course.
give it a
I
go.
mean, we're
Yeah.
raising the stakes, and it's like, what's the point of raising them so high if the ultimate sacrifice was, the ultimate stake wasn't on the cards? I mean,
Mm.
again, you say that, and Istrid immediately thinks, well, I will go down in time as a great legacy. Like no matter what, it's Spartan. It's I will go down in battle, for
Yeah.
there is only one way to go down, and yeah, like why
Mm.
would you not? Ultimate glory. Even that would be the
Mm.
most rewarding, satisfying
Mm.
thing. I believe we're going to be running an ad break in about 15
Yeah.
seconds. So apologies, everyone. We might just pause conversation briefly and just
Ah.
waffle about how excited we are. And when we come back, we'll be closing this conversation shortly, but not immediately. So there's the ad break, and I think it's ready. If it's not, hi. If you can still hear us, welcome. You're probably
Awesome.
listening to this after the fact or
You can
watching
still
on
hear us.
YouTube,
We'll
and we
keep.
need to figure out this because it just kind of breaks the flow and it's really annoying. So for some of you, the ad breaks have ended. For others, like on my phone, it
Mm.
hasn't. Um, but hello, everyone who's rating in the chat.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you
it.
absolutely so much, Canestra. It's always
Yeah.
Canesta. Always good to hear from everyone out there.
Hmm.
Here, the personal stakes for each character. Absolutely, Auntie Mimi. We are going to touch on that, I think, with our character introductions, because we decided we'll do
Mm.
brief player introductions to kick off. And then as we kind of introduce each character, I think we can dive in a little bit more about how and why we're there. For Istrid, it is born of Celestial. But he sees himself as gifted to the material, to be a guardian, to be a
Mm.
beacon, to show people what the right thing to do is. And he's learnt
Mm.
through sword and spell that he can influence, have the greatest impact in the right places. So he sees himself as a tool and a weapon of righteousness, and to fight for those who cannot defend themselves. So, hells yeah, I'm down to take down a
Mm.
Lich Queen for sure. It's just gonna be spectacular. Whether we get the win or whether we get the glorious L, it's going to be fantastic either way. And I think everyone acknowledging
Mm.
that is that the fun we had was the story we told and the adventures we had along the way. No, it's what happens at the end, and it doesn't matter what happens because it's going to be sick.
Yeah.
That's my
I have
approach
so.
anyway.
I'm little trepidation is what I'm looking forward to. It. I think it's it's so much about the story. So thank you, Amy, for particularly pointing that about. I'm glad that
Yeah,
the audience will be able
it
to hear
will.
that personal stake, because like for you, just for Istrid, actually, this is a really good point. The fact that he's also Azamar and that he's a holy being, he has come from the heavens. So there's a little bit of the immortal about him, but also a little bit distant from the ordinary, everyday kind of person. So it's kind of like that's what I was trying to say for each character that you bring in. And it's like, definitely don't tell me now, but I'm reminding all the players have a personal story. What is it that you've lost, or what is it that you could lose that means something very personal to your character? That's what you bring in when you do your introduction about this story that this person or this group of people or this community or this place was lost or could be lost, and a story around that shows the value of it to you. Having that moment, it's
Mm.
just a little tender, a quiet moment, or something like that, or it could be really powerful and bombastic and saying, "I love the country that's here, or the realms as well. I've met people from all across it," or whatever it is in the style of your character to say that, and I'm not going to let that stop. I am the bastion at the end of this that has to stop it. If it goes past me, we are doomed, or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so different for different characters, but I so want to hear that uniqueness, that essence from each of the players, so that we can build. That's the stuff that makes this really interesting to me as well. How about you?
Absolutely. That's it. Everything we touch on, everything that we prepare for, discuss, and put out on the cards, and put out these expectations. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to do a really, really cool thing, and it's gonna happen no matter what. We don't know what form it's gonna take. I love the saying, nervousness is simply excitement. What is it? what's the thing? Apprehension. Nervousness is simply anxiety. Sorry,
Apprehension.
all the things. I'm just listing horrific feelings. Anxiety is nervousness with a negative twist. Excitement is nervousness with a positive twist. So if we just all go into
Oh
this with a
yeah.
positive twist and we know what's going to happen, we're all just uncertain, and the uncertainty
Mm,
brings anxiety and nervousness. But if we flip it on its head and we go, well, we don't know what's happened, and that could be
mm,
fun. That's what we're
mm.
going into it with, and
I
yeah, with
like
a lot
that.
of
That's really
knowledge,
cool.
a lot of experience behind not only yourself but all the other GMs who will be playing with us. We all know what we're getting into, and I think that's more humbling than anything else about this whole experience. Is that yeah, we're gonna
Mm,
do it, and it's gonna be messy, and it's gonna be whatever. But man, we like I said, it's the friends we made along the way, and it's just going to be really fun that we found the right group of
mm,
people to pull this off as well.
mm.
So shout out to everyone who's playing, because we're really good, cool people when we do a good job. So
It's like it's so, guys. Thank you so much for your time as well. We probably need to wrap actually, and it's that whole idea
unfortunately,
of from this being such a high level games. What's one thing for you, Jarrod, as well from this discussion that you've really picked up that you'd really like to bring into a high level game for how to help run it a little bit easier, so it's less of a challenge.
mm. So for every yeah, so if I'm thinking, I'm thinking in three different ways. So for me, as approaching the character, I'm
Mm,
definitely bringing in what you've sort of requested or that you've facilitated, and that will be character driven moments
mm,
from a holistic perspective in terms of what am I bringing to the group or what can we do for the group. I think all of our conversations have been really
mm.
good. Paul's character, we were sparking a background and some history, and that's going to bring its own motivations
Oh,
and
awesome!
stuff. So between me and the other
Cool.
players, it's going to be interesting. And then for you as well, I think just actually highlighting and making our cheat sheets that we've made, where I've taken my insane level 20 character sheet with dozens of spells, handfuls
Yeah.
of feats, and just gone, right, I attack, I do this damage, it does this,
Mm,
I can do this many of this, and I channel this, and then when I have aura and spells and boop, great,
mm.
easy. But this for you is also very useful because you kind of know, you can see what you can expect. You know which auras are in play,
Yeah.
and that's just fantastic. So I think just yeah, communicating and acknowledging where everyone else is, who you're playing with, because everything's
Mm,
amplified. The emotions and everything are going to be quite heightened. So just being respectful of
mm.
everyone, first and foremost, and then collaborating, get the respect stuff
Yeah.
on, build the foundation of respect, communication, and expectations, and just get into the amazing cool shit we can do in this game. Because like we started by saying, we're basically demigods at this point. We're doing some insane stuff. We have
Yeah.
world ending impactful stuff with Wish, like you mentioned. So yeah, when
Yeah.
I can actually go out with a massive pool of hit points, heal most of my hit points back, so can the monk. The monk
Yep.
has more hit points than I do and can heal half of them. Like, yeah, I don't mind if this lich blasts me with the most insane magic, throws me across a chamber into a wall, and I leave a crater on the wall because I'll wipe the blood from my lip. I'll stare down the barrel of whatever staff or evil artifact she's launching magic from, and I'll say, "All right, my turn." And that's what we'll
I
do.
like
That's what I
that.
hope we do.
Awesome.
Fast forward to Saturday where nothing cool like that actually happened. No, no,
This
it will though.
bring it on. I think the best thing about this, like you said as well, is like from what I've taken, definitely everyone just really try everything you've got. Let's and
Yeah,
that you said bringing trust. I'm so happy that we've got this sense of like we really want to enjoy this. We want to push the limits though as well, and
yeah,
we just want it to be fun and fair so that we all have that opportunity to really shine. So I really, for me, is just being able
yeah,
to give those to have moments where we can just like take some time with this here beyond the
yeah.
combat side of it. What is this? Why is this important? What happens? Explain, describe this, and then we like, oh, does it succeed? Does
Yeah.
it not? And it's like, oh,
And I
it could be
was,
very cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm so pleased that that is your approach. You're taking this, you're looking at it from, okay, we're going to do some insane stuff. How do we bring in the other elements of the game? Because I feel like the default for level 20 is like, cool, we have all this crazy shit. Let's fight something insane. Is that fun?
Yeah.
Hells yeah. But we're trying to really, really do something special, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm so
Fingers
excited. So
crossed.
thank you, mate. It's gonna be so
Thank
much fun.
you.
It's gonna be so much fun.
Oh, look, I can't wait for everyone to meet the rest of the players as well. Jarrod, thanks so much, mate. Thanks for your support and actually just for being able to create this kind of story. And guys out there in the chat, thank you for being here with us today. Thanks for your comments here. Thanks for rating Canesta. It's good to see you here because we've played with you before, which is fantastic. And we hope to do it again in an AI game, maybe in future. And but yeah, to wrap up, we've got the game this Saturday that's on. It's the exhibition game, 20th level, Tyranny's End, and it's going to be the big face-off. You'll learn more. Check out the page. There'll be a post tomorrow about this on Facebook, but we'll be on from 3 p.m. this Saturday, all in support of the Collecticon. We are as well. Collecticon itself is on the 17th of September, Sunday, and we've got games galore, tables galore. We'd love to see you there if you want to come and join us. We have, I think next week is, I think we're probably, what have we got next week for the social pillar?
Well, we were going to dive into a topic I've been trying to push through the tube of episode ideas, which was going to be note taking. But I've realized that in my preparation for said note taking, I have also gained the benefits of my research and things. So I've gone out and I've actually defaulted back a little bit. And I've gone more old school, back to pen and paper for taking notes because I've got my tablet. I love all the features and all the cool stuff, and I've done this hybrid digital thing. But we will dig into that another time because we've just been amping up the level 21 shot, and I think a decompression, a debrief afterwards would be fun. So not only can you guys who are listening and watching now understand that we're going into this with an insane idea, but we want to talk about how that actually panned out. So stay tuned for that next week.
Fantastic. That'll be next week. We're going to reflect on this. I'm actually going to be really happy just to step back and have a look at it and just have some fun talking about what happened, but also what we got out of it as well, and what was surprising, what was stuff that we really like and we do again, what was stuff that we just didn't go the way we expect, and maybe, what can we learn from it, that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. But thank you guys for being here. We'll be there next week for that, this Saturday. Hope to see you there. Hope to see you at Collecticon in a week and a half's time. You can catch up with the Social Pillar on YouTube. We have our YouTube link that is on here somewhere, I believe. But check out our Facebook page too.
Exclamation mark socials. You'll find our YouTube, Facebook, and Discord all there. If you want to come talk to us anywhere, we are tuned in.
That's the one we got. And are we rating tonight? Have we got something we can jump into?
The dreaded GM. It's ready to go. Dreaded GM, another fellow Aussie creator, a wonderful human being, Josh. Go check him out. His streams are always fun to just hang out in. He is a wonderfully warm human being. So go tune into him. Stick around for now. But bye for now, everyone. This has been too much fun.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jarrod. Thanks. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks, man. Cheers.
Okay, we did that, and then we do the other thing. We're still good.